So what is this cast about again?
Well, we didn't decide. Is this really how we're...
Yeah, let's just ramble it on. Let's go.
Oh gosh, this is the return.
This is the return.
Episode with no plan.
Maybe we can just give them life updates about what's happening.
Oh, great!
I don't know.
People don't know.
People do know.
I don't want them to know. That's the problem.
Well, we're sorry that we've been gone. You know how crazy the holidays get. Also,
as we say in February.
Also, Joe and I had a pandemic disease.
That's true.
That barred Thomas from coming over and playing Melee for about a month.
It's true.
He was depressed. We were also depressed.
It was the most life-giving month, actually, I'd say, for me.
Really? No Melee?
Actually, I missed it, I'll be honest.
I know you did. You were like, I need your PS4 or your computer, bruh.
But yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
And miraculously, Bryce and Miguel, who also live with us, didn't get it. Joe was just kind enough to give it to me only.
Amen. Yeah, the two minorities got it.
Okay.
You know, it does affect Black people the most. So
okay.
That is true. It's basically because of vitamin D, though.
Wait, what?
Yeah, actually, that's what the good and faithful servant Jor Rajan has said.
Well, say no more. If it was Joe Rogan, then I completely trust
a doctor that he had on the show. However,
if you ever get a spot on Joe Rogan, Joe will take you as like the wisest man on earth.
Yeah.
He'd be like, "Yo, I heard this guy say this. I'm doing it."
Yeah, on Joe Rogan.
On Joe Rogan, that's what validates it.
I'm pretty sure
Joe Rogan is.
I'm pretty sure
truth.
Joe Rogan just puts anything that's sensational on.
Have you seen some of his interviews?
Isn't there a guy who like claims he was abducted by aliens, and he invited him on here one time?
Yeah, Joe Rogan. That was recent. I didn't listen to it, but
I feel like you're just too on board with Joe Rogan.
No. Okay, I like elk. I actually never had elk meat, but
it's so interesting because
I've never done jujitsu. But
Joe, you're a minority, and yet
we all are. Well, you're half.
Yeah, okay. And yet like you listen to like the most white conservative podcast that's humanly possible.
Well, is that true though?
Like, you listen to Ben Shapiro.
You would hear to Ben Shapiro and Joe Rogan, the left's two greatest enemies.
That's true. Yeah, I enjoy those podcasts. I enjoy Joe Rogan because I can get some good information. I understand that there is a huge...
Wait. That's why you listen to Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
To get some good information?
Yeah. About, like, other things in life.
It's like, how else are you going to learn about 5G, bro?
Amen. And, like...
The 5G towers.
Aliens and stuff. However, so... Joe Rogan's entertaining, but it's also, like... Because it's a podcast in a conversational format... For me, especially when I was working and like doing like introvert stuff behind a desk, it fulfilled that extrovert need.
You mean like when you got fired because you were listening to a podcast?
That may or may not happen. Shout out Joe Rogan though. Joe Rogan, I lost my job for you.
That's not healthy, dog.
Joe was trying to sneak in his AirPods to his office, and they're like, "Hey, Joe, you can't do that."
It's true, you did.
Yeah, let me explain.
No. You had a watch. You bought like an Apple Watch.
I was going to.
You bought an Apple Watch so you could play podcasts from, because then you could circumnavigate having the phone.
Yep. So I worked.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, let me explain this story. I think this context is important.
For context.
For context.
If y'all forgot about the word context.
Listen to me. I used to work a temp job.
You sure you want to tell them that?
That isn't. Let's bleep that one out.
You worked at where'd you work?
I worked at APR.
APR?
Something like that.
The APR? You got financing?
Yeah, I worked at this company.
Mortgage rate on your APR?
I worked at this company, and I kid you not, it was probably one of the most depressing times of my life. The job started at 5:30 a.m., and oftentimes it would end at 2:30, but most often we would work at 2-hour overtime until like 4 o'clock-ish.
Now that I'm remembering this job, it sounds like it was designed to be a hellhole.
Yeah,
it was designed to be the worst possible job.
This might run for the worst job. I worked at this company, and it was while I was in grad school. It was a temp job. It paid $15 an hour.
A very temp job it turned out to be.
Yes, very temporary. And I worked there for about like 6 months. Basically, I worked like 58 to 60 hours a week and went to school full time It was rough, but that wasn't the worst part. The grind you can get used to. I'm down to grind. The worst part is I'm an extrovert through and through, and I'm becoming more introverted and like trying to balance myself out. But especially at that time, the job is you sat at a non-assigned desk. So they have like these half cubicles, but they were open because this job dealt with financial information. So like everyone had to be able to be seen. And there was like cameras at every desk. Straight up some Big Brother 1984. You were not allowed to bring your phone in because if you had a camera, you could take pictures of financial information. So you had, if you want to listen to anything, people brought in like iPod Nanos. There was a girl who had like a Walkman with like the over-ear headphones.
And she's been there since it came out.
Yeah.
She's just trapped
No,
there.
you know how trash this job is? So there's a temp agency, a local temp agency that would serve this company, and a lot of temp agencies would just fill this for this company because this company did not care about these employees. They were temps. So these temp agencies, what they would do is like this company would say, hey, we'll give you a 2-year contract. And there are multiple times, this broke my heart because I didn't work there that long. There are people who work there for 2 years, and customary practice is like if a temp that works 2 years in your contract does a faithful, good job, I would say the moral and ethical thing to do is hire that person on full time. Because they did that for certain people. This company did that for some of the temps that they liked. I met a guy who worked there for 2 years right before his contract was about to be up, because you're not legally allowed to re-up them on the same contract. The company fired him. The temp agency rehired him another 2 years. That was their workaround. So basically, he was on like year 3
of a 2-year contract.
Of a 2-year contract.
That's absurd.
And I was like, if you name these companies, I don't want to name them because I'm afraid of big wind. But like, these are legit companies. Legit companies, a legit temp agency. And they were disgusting practices.
Bro, this is just capitalism, man.
It is capitalism, but the job is you could sit in these half cubicles. So, like, you sat probably like 5 feet away from someone, and you weren't allowed to talk to people.
Whoa.
They stopped you from talking to people.
That's jarring. To be like this close and then like not be able to.
Yeah, they're like, you need to focus on your screen, not fall asleep because you start at 5 a.m. and sometimes end at 4 p.m.
How would they police talking to people? Like, what would they do?
Managers would come by, and they were allowed to talk. And if they saw you sitting next to your buddy, they'd be like, hey, you guys need to be quiet. You're being disruptive. It's like, that is grotesque. Honestly, I was thinking about it. I was like, I think this is a workplace experiment. I think this is a psychological experiment where they're looking at like if they're looking for like personality. You know, like the Hawthorne workplace experiments where like they would like watch people with cameras in the workplace and see if it affected their behavior. I honestly thought they were doing an experiment because part of the reason I think they did that, I think it's an experiment, is I worked in a department called remittance processing. Mm-hmm. There was another department doing, I kid you not, like the second part of our work. So basically almost the same thing. We would take people's financial informations and like separate mail forms and like surveys, and they would just process the surveys. It was a completely different environment. We would walk out like robots out of our remittance processing room, and during breaks, they would walk out smiling and laughing and talking and like so happy, having relationships with each other. And we would walk out like robots because no one was allowed to talk to each other while you're working. And here's the crazy thing. They staggered our breaks. This is wild. They put us into 2 or 3 groups by last name and staggered our breaks. So you couldn't even be in a break. Let's say someone's last name was like B and your last name was R. You couldn't even be in the same break with them. Mm-hmm. And so because people were constantly coming in and out, you couldn't have relationships. Like you couldn't really have real relationships. And
that's crazy.
Yes. I think one of the funniest things though is one of their best employees, I think, was actually deaf. He's actually deaf. I was dying.
It's like a legless girl story all over again.
Hey, bro.
It's when your disability becomes your ability.
If you need someone to zip line and do financial information.
All right.
Deaf legless girl.
So yeah, this company, I hated the job, and I love listening to podcasts, mainly because like mentally it's draining. The job is data entry. So you just type things over and over. There was one part of the job where all you would do is type in numbers in 10 key, hit enter, type in another like 9-digit code for like 2 hours straight at 5 a.m. That was one task that they had us do. And I crushed it. But I was like, I cannot do this job.
I became the machine.
I really was a robot that time. But I was
that sounds like an experiment, dog.
Yeah, I know.
As you're describing it.
Yeah, the managers were also
crazy.
very... I did not like them.
They have lab coats, and they were just like...
Yeah, they were like...
shining lights in your pupils.
And how does that make you feel?
You don't feel.
On a
You're
scale
a robot.
of 1 to 10.
If you had to quantify it.
I actually was one of the few workers that actually broke from the norm. Because they actually had, in our department, in that huge hall, they had 2 rooms. They had a mail room.
Or like female room.
No, it's like a mail sorting, like U.S. postal mail, because they were getting mail and all these letters and stuff that we had to file and sort. And then a computer data entry room. And they had like 3 overflow computers in the mail room where it was louder because there were like machines going on for sorting mail. And so I was like, one day I came in and like, there's no assigned seating, so you don't get the same desk. You have no link to this place. And one day they had me in the overflow mail room with like just like 3 desks. They're a lot closer because it's overflow. And they're like, hey, you can sit here for today. And I never left. And no manager was like, this is how crazy it is. They're like, you can sit here. And I kept staying there. I kept staying. And there were space in the regular room. And they was like, hey, you can sit in the regular room. I was like, no, I'm chilling here. And then they were like, Some managers will just see me, not even care. They just walk by. Like, oh, does he know that he's in the overflow room? But at some point, they knew I chose it. And this is where the beginning of the demise began. Is I invited 2 of my boys. I was like, hey, you guys should sit with me in the mail room. It's like a little bit more lively by like 1%. And we can talk, I think, until I realized we weren't supposed to talk. And the desks are close enough to where like you could like help each other and like, talk to each other. So 2 of my boys came and sat with me. And we had great conversations. And it was really fun. And then that happened maybe for like a week. And then one of the meaner managers was like, all right, I'm putting an end to this. She's like, hey, you 2 need to go sit over here. And she's like, you need to go in that room. And I was like, I made some excuses like, oh no, like I got used to like this one little desk, like mouse
I can
pad.
only function optimally in this spot.
Yeah, so basically it backfired because eventually I just got isolated in the mail room all by myself with 3 computers. So I was near nobody. And the rest of the people were on like the mailroom floor working machines. And I was like, this is depressing. And at some point I was like, I have to listen to music or a podcast or I'm actually going to go insane.
Dude, like the way you're describing this job is like literally like a cartoonish dystopian capitalist hell.
No, here's
it's
the
like,
thing.
Press the button as your job.
Think of like what you imagine the inside of that office to look like is what it looked like. No color. Gray panel walls. They have like thick glass windows on like the 2nd floor so people can't jump out and kill themselves.
There's like little nets.
Yeah, they're like it's a
suicide
second.
nets.
It's the 2nd floor.
Please.
Also, like they always shut the blinds so no light could come in. It was like a sterile temperature of like.
This has to be an experiment.
No, I honestly
no
to this
way.
day think it's an experiment. But I feel bad for.
You're going to be in some like peer-reviewed
but
paper somewhere.
How did they gather data on you? You think?
Because they had cameras on every desk, so they could it could be like one of those like qualitative studies where it's like this subject did this.
Experience some.
This one broke away. Start listening to the Roadster. An anomaly in the data.
Yeah, it's such a bad job, but I feel first off. I got fired, basically. I got let go because they were like, hey, you can't listen to podcasts. And I tried my best to find ways to hide it. And eventually I just got caught for listening to a podcast. But what really got me fired is after that shift, I went into the HR office. This is what really is crazy. And I was like, hey, is there any way I can look for a different position here in this company? I'm a temp employee. And remittance processing isn't really for me. So I was just like trying to network and be like, I was a grad student. So I was like trained to do this. And basically the response I got is like, oh, you're a temp? Move along. We don't care about you. And I was like, oh, we are literally just guinea pigs. They're like, no, we don't really have anything that would fit you. And I'm like, you don't even know. Like, the funny thing
You
is,
didn't explain anything.
most of these kids, most of the people were younger. There was like a pretty interesting distribution. There were some older people I feel really bad, like in their 40s or like they were dads looking for a second job maybe and stuff like that.
I'd kill myself.
Some older ladies who were
Probably
probably
wasn't on the second floor.
yeah, moonlighting. There was a lot of younger kids, like recent college, like high school grads in college, and like kids going through college. But I already had graduated. I had an undergrad degree and I was working towards a master's degree. So like everyone that I talked to was like, dude, you're having a master's degree? Why are you working here? And I was like, I literally just need a job in the mornings so I can go to school at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I just need a job I can use to pay for school because like our housing cost isn't that much. I just need to pay for school. That's all I need to do. And it filled that, right? Because there was so much overtime that they did pay, but I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. But it was crazy because I was like, yo, like, some of these people, like, they don't have any other options for jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I feel mad at both the company, the host company, and the temp agency. Because they basically, especially for the people, there's a guy named Kirk who's so nice. He's like, I'm really worried my 2 years is coming up and I don't know what I'm going to do. And there's another guy who's like, my 2 years are coming up. I just go on unemployment and then maybe they'll just re-up me again. And I was like, bro, this is literally the definition of like you said, that dystopian future, like a rat in the race.
Yeah, you know what's terrible? It's like, from what it sounds like, it's like this job always exists at this company.
Yes, this job will never go away.
And why don't they just make employees at that point? You know what I'm saying? Like, if this job always exists, there's no need for a temp agency because it's not a temporary job. It's a job that you should have fulfilled by hiring someone.
Yes,
right?
I agree morally, but
it would require them to pay better and treat them better.
Yeah, but like that's terrible.
No, this sounds awful.
This is like, why are we trying to protect this company? Why don't we just put them on blast right now?
I mean,
like, what's the point? I feel like we should tell people about
wait to
this.
get my job offer first.
Try to keep your options open in case you have to go back.
Yeah.
They probably still take you, low-key.
Yeah,
temp, we don't care what you think.
Yeah, temp agencies have no standards, I feel like.
No, dude, this temp agency was just brutal. And, like, the thing is, like, this temp agency's like, yeah, we'll look out for you. We'll place you at the best job. And, like, this was not the best job for me.
You're an extrovert. You love people.
No.
Oh, I know.
But the thing is, as soon as the company...
Press the button, monkey, just...
Yeah, I know. It was, like... The thing is, like, there were some genuinely awesome people. Kirk actually came... He goes to a local church, and we met him at Omega Burger once. And the fact that he was stuck in that cycle because, like, he literally couldn't do anything else. Not that he couldn't, but like
this was available.
Literally, that was what was available to him. It was easy. He knew how to do it, but it wasn't like he was going to school and like, I don't know what got him trapped in that. But I think he could have done so many other things. But he just found himself trapped in that. And there's a lot of people where I'm like, man, this is a horrible life, a horrible work life. And so like, I really felt bad for the people that couldn't make it out. But I'm sure some are still there.
You know what's terrible with this kind of job is that, like, not only does it, like, have a terrible work environment or whatever, but, like, the things you actually are getting good at while doing this job are not really translatable to, like, other careers.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can have, like, oh, I have all this experience, so, like,
you're a monkey. That's not good for, like, growing as, like, a career. Like, oh... Like, what did you do before this? I did data entry. Like, no one, like, cares about that.
Like, even worse, like, the mailroom is, like, I basically separated forms by hand or with a machine. Like, that's a job that's machines are taking over quick. I could see how, like, some people need the money, and, like, I respect that, but, like, I just think it's incumbent on the managers where there was, like, one good manager, his name was Jose, the rest were really bad.
Like, why do you think they try to make this environment worse? Do you think they've proven to themselves, like, over time, like, oh, if we make it like this environment, people do better?
I think it's either, I genuinely believe this, I think it's an experiment to contrast with the other department that was so much more lively and happy, and just to see, like, emotional damage that could be caused or whatnot.
How much they could do.
Yeah. Or just, like, it might just be in retention rates, like, how often do they have the turnover?
So you really believe that? It's like
that's my first, or, like, tied with that is, I think it's just cost. Like, it's just so much cheaper to pay someone $15 an hour and then cycle that with no benefits.
No, I'm saying keep the same, like, temp whatever, but, like, make the environment at least more fulfilling for the people that are temps there.
I just think the management didn't believe in that.
Believe in like human
I never-
flourishing. They just didn't believe in human
I
flourishing.
think the management's main job was just to get the job done. Like a true capitalist. Like their job was only
I imagine
efficient.
they just like walked around with big cigars and like blew it in your face.
Sometimes
Sometimes they did.
sometimes they would do that. And sometimes they're like, you're gonna be
The
nothing. You're never gonna make it out of this.
They would just crack a whip
Yeah.
just to jolt you.
They
They
use-
shine
they
their
would-
monocle just in the right way to make me blind.
They would have a train whistle for lunch. It's like
Rotation 3.
Yeah. So
Really?
Into the mess hall with you.
It
No,
feels
this-
like on-campus suspension,
I
Bro.
like,
but a job.
instead of like
on-
writing on the right whiteboard or whatever over and over again. It's just like data entry.
Yeah, it's like on-campus suspension for money, which some kids would totally do. Maybe that's like, you know how the military comes to schools? Like these temp agencies should come to like
Detention.
senior year OCS.
You want to get paid to do what you're just doing right now?
Like, hey, bro,
yeah.
that's actually a great idea.
So
And then they'll definitely do better in school because they'll be like, oh, shoot.
This is what I'll have to look forward to.
yeah.
I imagine this is literally just you were caught for a little bit in like a schism of dimension because like that other company or the other side of it was heaven and you guys were just in hell.
Maybe.
You just saw each other pass
I'm
by
not
every day.
I'm not even joking. It was
I want
literally
to go to Abraham's bosom over there.
it was literally night and day difference.
Bro, I'm surprised you didn't start something.
I was trying to, and I think
No.
okay, here we are.
It wasn't the podcast. The podcast was just a
I think-
reason.
yeah, it was a reason. So
They were looking for a reason.
what I wanted to do is organize all of the temps.
That's called a union.
Yes, organize all the temps and be like, what if one day we all just didn't come in? The thing is, like, this job is based off a mail cycle that happens daily. That would put them like months behind. And so I would just say, for one day, what would these managers do for no purpose if no one came in on a day that they didn't communicate well whether we should have been in or not? I was like, what if no one came in? Which means that mail from that day would stack and it would just keep compounding. Because what they would have to do then is literally, and the thing is, what I realized is, this is something they actually did, which is horrible, is that they would just shotgun hire people. Like, let's say they were behind on a week's mail. They would go to these temp agencies, like, find us anybody, shotgun hire these people, fire them after like a week. And I'm like,
Dang, that's brutal.
yeah. Or like fire the next person who would have been lowest or the person who was going to be gone anyway. So they kept whatever they wanted. And I was like, wait a minute. There's no way they can be broken.
They'll just fill the void.
Yeah, they will fill the void. I
Because
mean,
there will be
it
someone that needs the money bad enough
Yeah.
that they'll do it.
Yeah, they
Or
will.
they just don't know. They're oblivious to how bad it
Yes,
is.
exactly. Because like the temp agency isn't being straightforward when they're like, oh, this is a great job. Like, nah, this is not a great job. My first goal was just to build relationships. Like temps, so our break room with the staggered breaks were like, sparse tables. People would sit by themselves. And I was like, how can I change this socially to where people feel connected? And the few groups that of people were sitting together, they would like look at their phones the whole time and talk to each other, and they would just, there was no sense of camaraderie, even in the break room. And I know it wasn't much time for lunch and on breaks, and people would eat in their car sometimes. But what I first did was like, all right, what can I do to bring the fellow, proletariat together? So the first thing I did was like, hey, I'm gonna bake a giant stack of cookies, and just like from like Trader Joe's I thought were fire, put them down in the break room and be like, yo, free for anybody. That's one way that I think when I did that, it started bringing people together. Second, I was like, all right, I can sit here and be a loner and millennial and not talk to anyone and be on my phone on every break and every lunch. Or there's a group of guys over there. I'm gonna see what they're about. So I infiltrated. They were awesome people. They had a sister group of their sorority girls that were like, I would call them. But they were like the group of girls that they were friends with that would hang out together. And it was all more like younger people. So slowly we started banding together and building relationships. And by that time, the thing is, I feel bad because I was never able to finish my mission. Because by the time I left, people started hanging out together after work. And I literally got fired like on one of the days.
You were actually a martyr.
Yeah.
You saved a whole company.
I don't know but the thing is, like, I don't know what happened to them, and I don't think it was just me. I think it was just like the progress of.
They were shot on sight. You doomed them all.
But like they were like, yo, do you want to hang out after work and go get the sushi place? And I was like, wait, people are hanging out. Let's go. We're starting to make waves. And then they were like,
make waves.
Make waves. Shut up. And then the temp agents. This is crazy. The company didn't even tell me I was fired. The temp agent's like, so you have to wake up at 5 to get there from where I live. Basically, I wake up as late as I could because I hate the job. To get there at 5:30, and I didn't even know they let me go. I woke up at 5 the next day, and I got a call, I guess, late that night, but on Friday nights, I'm hanging out. On Saturday morning, I woke up at 5, went to work. They're like, everyone clocks in at the same time, and you have to scan your badge in a line to get in. It's actually dystopian. Well, like, these doors are, like, automatically locked, so you scan your badge in a line to go in. No joke. Mine stopped working. And then one of the people, the security guy's like, hey, you're going to have to wait here. And I was like, I got fired. I knew it immediately. And I was like, I ain't mad. I'm mad I have to wait. I woke up, though. In that, like, several month period, which I grinded full-time, like, 60-hour-a-week work days and full-time school, I think what it helped me is, like, learn that sometimes you got to grind in life. And that's a good feeling when you realize, like, yo, I actually did that. And being able to recognize how quickly people can get used to something, even something awful, is like a comforting and a sad thing.
You know what it reminds me of, like, I was watching I just finished The Good Place. It's a show about, like, heaven and hell, basically, but in a sitcom form. And, like, this demon, like, designs. It's supposed to be like a regular place for people to go to, but, like, it's actually hell. It's, like, designed to make them miserable in every way he knows best.
But they don't know
it's hell. Your job literally sounds like your personal hell that he designed for you. So, yeah, it's probably good that you're not there anymore.
No, I'm glad. And to be fair, though, even though it was such a low pay rate, because you work so much overtime, I made enough money to go through college and not have any debt.
Maybe we'll change their practices as they see that they're not doing as well as
once this BoolCast
once they hear this,
there's going to be a manager in sackcloth and ashes just like, what have I done?
We haven't even named the company, though, that you're talking about. I think we should. Do you think in case someone's looking like, oh, should I, like, join this temp agency and, like, work for here? Like, that would suck for them.
Okay.
You could save lives,
I would like to do that if I could get some other post-edit recommendations.
He's sweating again. He's sweating.
Will you allow me to
I'll just say
No. You don't know that temp agency.
Oh, you're right, but I know the compare.
I don't tell you this, but I have a 3 strike rule. So once I use my 3 posts, anything else goes.
Are you serious? That'd be amazing, actually, because we would be dead.
All right.
So I'll name it. Oh, go ahead.
AARP is where he worked. The actual company that was dystopian hell.
He won't confirm or deny that, but that's our best guess.
I legally cannot confirm or deny, but they lived here.
If I had to guess, I think it's AARP.
That's a good guess.
And I would say that I once had a contract with a temp agency by the name of Apple One Services.
That sounds like a fake place.
It does seem fake.
Apple One.
How did you find it?
Apple One Services. Part of what attracted me to it was like, they're going to hire me for, like, the Apple Store. Nope. They do not.
Is that what they were banking on?
I don't know why they went.
How'd you find this?
You said those, like, knockoff eye company, like, the eye logo in front of it? It's an eye temp agency.
It's like an Apple. Ooh! This is a legit company. They're actually headquartered in, like, 2 cities away. They literally are, like, their headquarters is, like, 5 minutes away from here.
Well, I'm glad it's a real company.
It is a real company, but sometimes I wonder if they're real people sometimes.
No, I mean, just what I've heard, basically all temp agencies are terrible.
Yeah, I've worked actually, one of my first jobs was a temp job out of high school. And then I worked actually in-house for an agency that hired for temp, a biopharmaceutical company that was a temp agency, recruiting and temp. And this is what I've come to understand about temp agencies, is a lot of temp agencies claim when they have you as a hireable candidate that they're looking out for your best interest. You are literally just numbers in a body to them. They do not care about you. They'll say that we'll try to get you the best offer, but one of my best advice to give to anyone that's working with a temp agency or a temp job is you have to really be the person that is looking out for yourself the most. I've had a lot of negative experiences with temp agencies, so maybe that's my biased opinion, but I don't like temp agencies.
I'll
Do you guys have any thoughts about? Have you guys worked with temp agencies before? Or?
I have not. I have not.
No.
And thankfully, I haven't because
Some are better than others.
I mean, you're my case study.
Yeah.
With like those kinds of jobs, I've worked food service.
Yeah, I haven't. I think that's a.
I feel like okay because we were talking about that a while ago. How like food service teaches you a lot, and you were like, kind of wish I had that experience. Your experience sounds way worse because usually when people talk about food service, they talk about it like, oh, you need to experience it in a negative way, where it's like you need to
meet the
take the
screaming
hit.
customer.
Yeah, like you need to meet the Karens and like deal with that.
Yeah.
Which like you don't in data entry, but if we're talking about like seeing the bottom of like a scary place, I think you were in that scary place.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't scared at all.
That's true.
I worked in Yogurt Land, which is a very like
I would have
brightly colored place.
I would have loved that job because also I'm an extrovert, so like it just so happened I got sent to extrovert hell or purgatory.
Well, like this wasn't like an extrovert pipe dream either. As somebody that's pretty extroverted, like I had one other coworker.
Yeah.
And like
nobody
at
least
came
you could talk
in.
to him.
Yeah, but like
But
a lot of times no, because like chemistry is still a thing. Like you can. You can run into people and then realize like you're not like clicking super well.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just didn't click super well with any aside because like the Yogurt Land that I worked for, I had 3 friends that actually worked there as well. They got hired around the same time I did, but 2 of them got fired like super quick, and one just worked the morning shifts and I was working nights, so I never saw them. Yeah. So outside of those 3 people, I just didn't like super gel with everyone else. And that's tough because like if you don't gel, it's like, okay, now it's just you.
And you spend so much time at
8 hours of just you.
Yeah.
Dude. But in college it was rad. I really gelled with my coworkers and it was super fun. Yeah. And at Ralph's, I think I wasn't like super tight with people, but there were some really nice people that I was like, I can talk to you and it's fine.
You worked in a pretty fast-paced food service.
Yeah, I worked at Chick-fil-A. Yeah. Chick-fil-A was good. I'm not a super big extrovert, but like, I always felt like the company was solid because we never were understaffed and like, we didn't have to deal with that many crazy people, honestly. And our managers were pretty good, except these couple of ones, but they always were warnings.
Nice.
Yeah.
This reminds me of another great work story that hasn't made the BoolCast air, which is the story of Sub G.
Ooh.
Which has been a common
we'll go.
Yeah, this seems fitting. So I worked at Ralph's a couple months ago. There was one coworker in particular that sparked a phrase that has become a very popular phrase in the Bool House, which is Sub G.
Sub G?
Sub G?
Who is this person?
This person that said Sub G is named Mike. And this is sparked by another conversation too, because someone came up to me and was like, why do you say Sub G all the time? What's with the Sub G? And I was like, let me tell you about Sub G and why we say it every day.
Literally, maybe multiple times a minute.
I literally like see people. This happened to Miguel. Like someone walked in that wasn't us, and he stifled a Sub G. He was like Sub, and like had to bottle it down. It's like one of my biggest fears actually was like when I got my current job that I would accidentally drop a Sub G on someone. Like it was like a legitimate fear. That I was like, I need to be so careful of not saying Sub G. Anyway, so Mike is this guy. He's a cashier at Ralph's. Real nice dude. He's probably in his like early 40s, probably. He's from like, I think he said like South Central LA.
Still the hood.
He kind of comes from that vibe. He's a Mexican guy, kind of slick back hair, wore these really fire like basketball shoes every day.
Jordans, right?
Yeah, they're like That's really tight. Fresh. And he was super nice to everybody. But the way he would greet you, he'd be like, "Sup, G?" To every employee. And
CEO.
And that was like pretty normal. That wasn't funny to me. I was just like, "Oh, okay. What's up, Mike?" But then one night a customer came in, and nights are very slow. And we were just talking it up, and he was like, I actually used to work here. And I was like, okay, for sure. Like, that's cool. Like, how long ago? He's like, like way back. Is so and so still here? Is this and this still here? And so like me and the cashier were just like talking to this guy, and we're like, yeah, he's still here. No, he's not here. I don't know who that is. And he's like, oh, is Mike still here? And we're like, oh yeah, we know Mike. We work with Mike like every day. And then he's like, did you know Mike races pigeons? And I wasn't ready for that sentence because that's not a sentence I normally hear.
Or is it?
And I was like, wait, say that one more time. And he's like, yes, he races pigeons.
Like across long distances.
No, all he told me was he races pigeons. And I was like,
I would have cried.
I was in tears because I'm just imagining this super just like urban dude. Just like, sup, G? Dang, that's a fast pigeon, G. And like I'm just imagining him in like a park, like a normal like urban park, clocking like pigeons on his iPhone. And just that picture of the cashier by day, pigeon racer by night.
Like with like a friggin' golf cap on.
Yeah, like it was so
like trading it with a whistle.
Like I'm thinking some like
dude, I would have gotten fired. I would have been
like
on the
old
floor.
white guy that's like puts the ship in the bottle kind of dude. But this is Mike, the pigeon racer. And I was like, what is happening? And I have to ask him if this is true. Because it can't be true. It's not possible.
I've never heard of that before.
I've never heard of this either. I think pigeons, Costco eating the hot dogs pigeons.
They fast, but they're not that
that's
fast.
Why I'm like if you said like he races like hawks or something, like falcons,
Like
I'd be like, wow, that's real cool. This is like I don't know, this is like the equivalent of like squirrel fighting or something like really absurd.
That would probably exist too.
Maybe he does that too.
Let's go. Sup, G?
Sup, G? Put him up, G. So then the next day I go up to Mike, and I was actually like hesitant to ask him because I was like,
"Yo, what's up, G?"
I feel like an idiot like asking this question. Like, how do I bring this up? Like, there's a customer right here.
I would have gone for it. You can wait, sir. I didn't ask this question.
So I made my way. So I was like, I was the bagger for him, and I was like, "Hey, Mike, this guy came in the other night, and he said you race pigeons," and he's like, "Yeah, gee, I still got him." And I was like, what? And he's like, I still got him. Me and my brother got him when we were kids. And I was like, what?
There's no way you could
like
not cry
hobby.
laughing. I would have died.
I was like, dang, that's crazy. And then like I walk away and like tears are like flooding up. And I remember telling, people here at the house that story. And then the sup G just caught on.
It literally never. It stuck so hard.
It's been months.
It's
almost a year.
Like, sup, G?
It's probably started in like May of last year.
Bro, this is never going to leave us. Because that pigeon story is so funny. But also, apparently, we did some more background research. Like, some of these pigeons are thousands of dollars. Like, it's not. Some of it is like actually expensive and a legit hobby that's crazy. But me and Wyatt were talking. He's like, I wonder how they race them. Like, to just like let him go and just like go, keep going. No, go faster. I'll give you some bread later. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like. But apparently they do something crazy where they just have huge cages and just release them.
Yeah.
And they just fly. And then they like, where they go, I have no idea, but maybe to a different country.
I just imagine that he's like a talent scout. He just goes down to like Hartwell Park.
Or Costco.
And he's just kind of like scoping around and he's just like...
He's got shades on.
Yeah, he's like, this one's looking like he's got potential.
Yeah, he's like, I'll give you a D1 scholarship.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, is he just like, is he a recruiter? Does he get commission?
No, it's a different... Dude,
he's like, I got a temp job, G.
He's a coach, bro. It's a different thing. Different job. Yeah, bro, it's...
So many pigeons do data entry now.
Mike actually works for Apple One.
Apple One services.
Oh my gosh. What a trip. Yeah, that sub G is never gonna...
And then there is the lady that I worked with that whispered Molly Percocet to me as we were walking past each other.
I would have died laughing as well. I'd be a little afraid, but... It
was wild. So...
And then
she was she was like a very eccentric person. She worked the overnight. This is probably the overnight like stocking shift.
Yeah.
So it's like a ton of manual labor, like to grab the boxes, stack everything. So like I would see her when I worked mornings, like the 5 a.m. shift, at Ralph's. Remember, I was like sweeping the store, and she just like walked past me, dead like eye locked me from the end of the cereal aisle, and is like
Lucky
on
Charms,
me,
baby.
and so I'm like, hey, and she just goes, Molly Percocet, and I laughed, like I couldn't not laugh, because I was like, what do you want me to do? And then she goes, right, and keeps walking.
There is no proper response,
And I don't know,
but
like,
laughter is one of the better ones. Fear is the next.
not only was the first part jarring, but her response to the laugh was also jarring.
Man, she sunned
she
you.
crossed me up so hard.
She did.
Because
She
I was like,
crossed
why
you.
did you tell me this? Why are you affirming this? But it was like no break in speed. Like we had our jobs. I didn't know what to do.
Dude.
Except cry laughing.
See, that's
And I did.
that's the thing. These jobs, like these horrible jobs, some of them have such funny and beautiful moments that I think, unless you're trapped in the cycle of these jobs in poverty, make it worth it to say, at one time, I'm going to look back and always say, working at AARP through Apple One was literally hell, but there are some moments I cannot stop laughing at. That one, that it existed. Two,
that you lived through it.
Yeah,
that it's a real scenario that wasn't like a Simpsons bit.
Yeah. And so Ralph's is probably that one place for you, man.
I guess so. It wasn't a hellhole. Like
No,
you
didn't make it.
I
seem like
didn't
that.
hate working there, but there was just some quirkiness that was so infamous. I was like, oh my gosh,
That is funny though.
Why did you tell me that? Why do you do that?
Yeah.
What do people do here?
That's true. What is your worst job experience?
My worst job experience?
Or like, what did you say was your worst job ever?
I don't think I've really had a bad job, but probably the worst experience was one night. So my job was a camp counselor. Basically, I taught science, but also at night I was like their father. I'm not joking. Like
some of them didn't have fathers. So you actually,
hey man, it's a sensitive subject, but
so you were actually
so like for 5, like they would come on Monday and they would leave on Friday, and so like they were with me 24/7 from that point, and so like I would teach them science during the day, and like we would hang out at night, and like I would all sleep in the same cabin. So like I would get different kids every week at this camp, and one night, this kid wakes me up. He's like, "Mr. Thomas, I just threw up." I'm like, oh no, it's the worst when they throw up, because then the entire cabin smells, and like you got to take him down to the nurse. So this kid wakes me up. He's like, I'm not feeling well. Like I think I threw up a little bit. Literally, his entire sleeping bag is just covered in throw up.
It's not a little bit.
It's like covered in throw up. I'm like, why is this happening? So like, I try to get him cleaned up, whatever. I take him down to the nurses to like take this like basic Pepto-Bismol, like help
what
his
happened
stomach.
to him?
Probably just ate something wrong. I don't know. Ate too much pizza. And so like on the way back to the cabin, like but first of all, it's cold at night in the mountains in the winter. On the way back, we go into the cabin, and it's like in the middle of the hallway, there's another pile of throw up. I'm like, where did this one come from? And so like
Another
kid had thrown up in the middle.
Contagious.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Something they must have ate something.
Yeah. So like I take this kid into the bathroom, like to try to like help him, like he's like sick or something. As I'm like, I literally am like, I remember the picture, like patting him on the back as I leaned over the sink. I look up, there's like a freaking bat hanging right over us. Somehow a bat had like gotten into the cabin and just like is staring at us. Like I'm like, oh no.
Did it throw up?
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Was the bat like, yo, I really need to throw up?
And so like at this moment,
He's like, Mr. Thomas, I don't feel so good.
Mr. Thomas.
it's like motherfucking Big Thunder Mountain bats.
Bruh, he's like, Mr. Thomas. I don't feel so good.
So at this moment it's it's about 3 a.m. at this moment. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to deal with this bat right now. 'Cause like bats have like rabies. Like it's well known that
we know they have diseases.
Yeah,
we know this.
Oh, we know this.
Do we? How do we know this?
Bro.
Okay, another story. Different time.
Anyways, so this bat. I'm like, okay, I don't want to deal with this because if like someone gets bit, then I have to like go to the nurse and like call like my
Wait, post
manager.
that out. I know what you're talking about now.
So stupid.
Alright, go ahead.
And so through these two kids throwing up throughout the night, and like me having to deal with this bat, and like having the smell of throw up exist throughout my entire being for the rest of the week. It was just terrible. And like I probably slept like a solid 3 hours that night, and the kids probably slept less. And overall this job was great, except that like
that one night was
terrible.
purgatory.
And also when I got hired for this job, they're like, "Oh yeah, you don't work nights. You go home at like every night at like 7 p.m. and like you come to work at like 8 a.m. So like it's a long job, but then they didn't hire enough people, and so I also had to fulfill the role of being their counselor at night. So basically I just worked 24/7, and it was.
Do they pay you 24/7?
Dude, I don't know how they do this legally, but like they only pay you like $120 a day, and so like.
And they just say like your living expenses is your
I
part
guess.
of it.
I don't know. I honestly don't know how they do it legally, but it's like it's called a per diem or like something like that. But like basically like it's
Sounds like
almost
a temp job.
almost every
Sounds like data entry for bats.
almost every like every camp does this. Like they pay you by the day, regardless of how many hours you work. Because like honestly, I work 24 hours
a day.
a day. It's just they only pay me $120.
That is wild.
It's crazy.
Bro, like, there is one story that you did tell us that was a redeeming quality about this job, about that kid who was trying to get down. And
Wait, what?
The kid who was, like, too afraid.
Oh my gosh.
That's, like, that makes it all worth it, right? That's what I'm saying. There's one shining light that makes it all worth it.
It was
There's always a Molly Percocet in every job.
And that okay,
Sub-G.
so we have this rock climbing wall, right? And so like this climbing wall is pretty tall. It's scary, but you have a harness. Like you cannot get hurt on this rock
I
climbing
thought this was
wall.
for the bunk bed.
Oh, that one?
Yo.
Dude, okay, I'll tell this rock climbing story first. This one was more annoying than anything. That one's funny. So on the rock climbing wall, like this kid's like halfway up and like has this breakdown. Like he cannot move.
Up or down?
Up or down.
Let's go.
And
He's
so
like paralyzed.
He's like
with fear.
paralyzed with fear.
Because they got afraid of heights and stuff.
Yeah, I guess.
Aw.
And so he's like stuck there. I kid you not, I solid 45 minutes of like just hanging on this wall.
Poor kid.
I know it was just.
How did he stay? I respect that.
Well,
some
there's
grit.
He's like, I'm not dying today.
It's not even. It's not a hard wall. It's
He
just
hit some like Guinness World Record.
He's like, I'm not.
Alright, no, keep going. You will die. You will die.
Yeah, don't you let go. We cut the hardest.
hands bleeding, just frozen.
Just throwing chalk at him, just for his hands.
Yeah, that was more annoying. But like, eventually he came down when another like the leader of like the rock climbing like went up there and had to climb up next to him, like bring him down, basically.
They like talked to him like, hey man, you have something.
Jump.
You have something to live for. Jump.
Yeah. Okay, no, but the funniest one was this kid was in the top bunk, and like we were to go somewhere, and he's like, Mr. Thomas, I can't get down. There's a ladder, like to get down.
Wait, explain why. He got up there.
This kid was pretty fat.
Oh.
And
sad.
not coordinated. And so like
Oh, he was a little goofy.
he's like, I don't know how to climb down the ladder. And so I was like, okay. He was like trying to climb down like feet like head first, basically. Not head first, like
He tried to go head first down the slide. Bro, it's a ladder. It don't work that way.
no, not head
Just
first.
cross your arms.
I'm saying like he was going down like his back his back towards the bed.
Right. He
Okay.
didn't turn.
Like yeah, he didn't turn right. And so like he's like tenderly trying to put his foot down. I was like, no, you have to like turn around. So like you're like facing the bed when you come down the ladder. He's like, what? I don't know how to do that. So like I literally had to turn him around with like my own two hands. Like, okay, turn around this way. He's like, I can't see the ladder. I'm like, okay, but it's right there. I had to like take his feet with my hands and like literally walk him down each individual step down the ladder.
Yeah.
But then at the end of it, like he came down, he was like, I did it. And
Let's
then he
go.
was so proud of himself for making it down the ladder.
Yeah.
I was like,
hyped for it.
let's go.
And the whole cabin started clapping.
Yeah.
And I was like, all the boys were like,
Beautiful.
let's go, you did it, my man.
Yeah.
That's so precious.
Yo.
Yeah. And so,
that makes it worth it.
and at sort of some level, like I make fun of the kid still, but at another level, I'm so proud of the kid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely make fun of him. Like,
Yeah.
all
sure
the,
that,
all
but-
the, make fun of the bat too. The bat gets some
I was
too.
like, I can't get down. That was making fun of me. That's
So the bat was like, yo, I threw up too. You stupid. How do you think they all got sick? That's what the bat was saying.
That's a good story, man.
That is good.
Yeah, that job was crazy.
But some of this is good. It's good to come back on a big note.
This is a great episode. I'm just saying. I had a lot of fun doing it.
It's because you talked the entire time.
I did.
I know what you like, Joe.
It was great.
I feel like this is the best storytelling.
I know. This was actually the best. I think the highest user engagement already, and like, I think we're getting the most views.
We have 0 retention on this.
Like, okay. Where's the sub G part?
We get flagged.
What did they talk about Big Win?
All right,
But
take us.
I'm not going to make any promises that there will be a cast next week.
Oh.
I'm done with the promises.
No promises.
No promises.
You get what you get.
This might be the last one for all you know. But thank you for listening.
Let's post that out.
Wait, I'm confused. You told them that?
No, I didn't tell them that. I thought in my mind. I
In
could
your
think.
mind.
Yeah, I could think that.
You can think that now, but thinking that then is a little
Hold on,
weird.
let's post that out.
Nah, it's too late.
No, post that out. Post that out.
Don't yell at me.
Yeah, please post it
Stop
out.
yelling at me.
Please post it.
Please post that out.
I do what I want. I just want you to check yourself.
That's true.
I think it might be a growing experience.
Consider me the temp agency.
Mm.
You can't get your water bottle now. Your proverbial water.
Your proverbial card doesn't work anymore. You can't go back in time.
I'm
and
like
fix
sweating
that.
now. I really don't want that to go out.
It's fine.
Yeah, it is fine.
Aren't you glad we don't do a video podcast?
Oh
Maybe
This
just
is why we do audio.
don't open the
Yeah,
window,
no, it's
bro.
so hot.
No, it's not. It's actually not hot.
You're dying so
dying.
bad.
What happened?
I don't want that to go out.
You stroke it out so
I
hard.
think you're making a bigger deal than it has to be.
Okay.
It's okay to imagine